So we've talked about underrated sequels, we've talked about superior sequels, we've talked about superior remakes, underrated remakes. Why don't we talk about 10 of the worst horror sequels of all time? What's up, everybody? Nick from the Lost River Drive-In here, and tonight I want to talk to you guys about 10 of the worst horror sequels I've ever seen. Now, again, I've said this before with all of these lists, and I will continue it with this list. This is not a definitive ranking, 1 through 10. This is not the 10 worst, nothing like that. This is just my opinion. It's just 10 I can think of off the top of my head that I want to shoot from the hip and throw out there to you guys and see what you think. And starting this list off has got to be The Exorcist II, The Heretic. Wow. Where to begin with this movie? It sucks. I mean, it really, really sucks. I know somebody said that Scorsese likes The Exorcist II, and I honestly don't know what's wrong with him because this movie sucks. Super boring. It really just cribs off of what the first one did well, but it's nowhere near as interesting, or it's not scary at all. It is a complete waste of time. I mean, I really don't even know how else to put that other than The Exorcist II is a complete waste of time. Next up is going to be Fright Night II, New Blood. And no, I'm not talking about Fright Night Part 2. I'm talking about Fright Night 2 from 2013 that is supposed to be a sequel to the 2011 remake, but it's not a sequel at all. It's another remake in another country, gender swapping Jerry Dandridge, but putting 2 in the title as if it were... It makes no sense. None. Look, the movie is a complete waste of time. It's not interesting at all. You get, just terrible versions of Charlie and Ed, and it's not interesting. Like, it's not well acted. I like some of the places they go to in the movie. I do think the gender swapped idea is kind of cool, and Jerry in this movie, like, she's pretty hot. But, it's a complete waste of time. Like, it's a soulless cash grab, straight to DVD. Put this in the title. Let's try to make some quick scratch off of it. And it just shows. It's a total waste of time. I own the movie, but I got it as a gift. I did not buy it for myself. And I hadn't seen it yet. And I watched it. And I'll never watch it again. It is truly awful. I fully expect to get some hate for some of these. Like, I'm totally aware that some of my opinions can be pretty strong about things and different. But, that's just kind of who I am. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't. So the first one that's probably going to ruffle some feathers is Book of Shadows, Blair Witch II. Now, I'll say I haven't watched the movie in a couple years, and I know a lot of you guys have been telling me I need to watch it again. I've been called out on the podcast by Christian telling me I need to watch it again, and I probably do. I want to give it another fair shake. But I remember the last time I watched it, and I've only seen it twice, and I remember the very first time I saw it being just completely annoyed at it being the complete opposite of what I was expecting. Now, some of you might go, well, sometimes you like when a movie pulls the wool over your eyes. I do, but with Blair Witch, I just thought, this is a, found footage, creepy ghost story in these woods, and Book of Shadows just really ain't that. It's really not. Now, I'm not going to say this movie is an abomination, because I think there is some merit to it. There are some good performances. There are some unique ways this movie goes. Maybe I'll call this list disappointing. I don't know. Because this movie isn't a travesty, but man, was I so bummed the first time I saw this movie. And honestly, to me, the last time I saw it, it was a complete waste of time. Like, I hated myself for watching it again. So I know I say I need to give it another chance. I'm probably going to do that and then hate myself for giving it another chance. But here we are, Book of Shadows. Throw your stones. And while we're cooking with gas here, I'll just go with another one that I know a lot of people are fond of now, but I never have been. Pet Sematary II. I know Mary Lambert came back. I know, Edward Furlong is in the movie. Obviously, Clancy Brown's in the movie. There's a lot of things, like, on the surface, you would look at this movie and you'd go like, wow, this could be pretty cool. Nah, man. Not to me. Again, cannot stress enough how I do not think if you like this movie, it says anything about your taste whatsoever. It worked for you, and it just didn't work for me, and that's totally fine. Pet Sematary 2, I'll never forget. Like, the thing that sticks out in my head when I think of this movie is like the wolf dog head dream sex scene thing that, like, at that point in the movie when I was watching it, I was like, we're here. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Oh, how the mighty have fallen from the first movie that is a just truly heartbreaking story of loss with a child and doing anything you can to make things right in your own mind in a messed up way, but trying to repair your family. The emotions behind that movie, to have this campy, cheesy, over the top, it's not what I wanted from Pet Sematary. I completely see why people would like this movie. Like, this movie has merit, but to me, talk about disappointing. I really, really do not like this movie. Next up is going to be The Ring 2. Oh my God. This movie is balls. I mean, look, I remember the first time I watched this movie, I think I like kind of enjoyed it, but I feel like that was just partially because I was happy to see Naomi Watts back and this, Samara story continue, because the first movie meant so much to me and scared me as a child. Like, it traumatized the shit out of me. I've told the story many times. But like, watching it as an adult and even as like a later teenager, I was like, this movie's not good. Like, it's really not good. It goes into some super weird directions that make no sense at all. It completely loses the plot and, what it's supposed to be about and what made the first one effective. It's like, I believe her son Aiden is like being used almost as like an avatar for Samara in a way. I haven't seen it in years, but this movie sucks. I don't really know what else to say. It's not good. Next up is going to be, unfortunately, The Woman in Black 2. The Woman in Black, when it came out with Daniel Radcliffe, was it was a nice little sleeper hit. It had some effectiveness to it. It was interesting, and I liked Radcliffe in the role. And I believe the second one was straight to video or straight to streaming, and it shows, because this movie's a turd pile. It sucks. The effects are terrible. The acting's bad. It can't recapture anything that the first movie did well. Nothing. Like, nothing about the first movie is there in this movie. And it's just, I mean, the effects specifically are just glaring. Like, it gets to a point where you as a filmmaker and as a team need to be like, should we really be doing this? Like, I know the first one wasn't this massive bona fide success, this classic. No, but it was decent. It was decent. And to tarnish that movie with whatever the hell this is, I don't even want to justify giving this movie any more breath talking about it. It sucks. Like, bad. Next up is going to be The Hills Have Eyes 2. Not the sequel to the remake, the original sequel to the original, also written and directed by Wes Craven. Guys, this movie is also pretty much a complete waste of time. The Hills Have Eyes 2 was basically contractually obligated to Wes Craven. Hey, if I do this movie, I believe it might have even been part of the Nightmare on Elm Street thing. I can't remember exactly. Someone educate me on that. But it was basically like, if you do this movie, you can do whatever you want with your next movie or down the line. So he came back and did a sequel to The Hills Have Eyes. And like 90% of this movie, I'm exaggerating, but a lot of this movie is like stuff that's just from the first movie, just recycling footage over and over again. There's nothing in this movie that builds upon anything in the first movie of note, at least. Like, this is a perfect example of a movie that is meandering, completely wastes your time, adds nothing new to the experience of the first movie, and just cribs off of the first movie, literally with all of this damn footage, because they didn't want to do a sequel. So, like, I can't blame Wes Craven for being like, hey, I really don't want to do this, so if we're going to do it, I'm just going to reuse stuff from my previous movie. But for the love of Christ, do not waste your time with this movie. It's bad. As I'm racking my brain more about this, like, I'm seeing part 3s and part 4s that I'm like, wow, those are terrible, but I'm keeping this as, part 2s. It's fitting, part 2s that are number 2. So I'm going to keep it as like direct sequels. And although I do not like the first movie now as an adult, reanalyzing this movie, this second movie is especially bad. And that's The Grudge 2. And kind of similar to The Ring 2. Look, The Grudge, when I was a kid, I feel like for whatever reason that movie worked with me, and I don't know why. Because going back now, I can watch it and be like, this is not very good. But I can see what some of the charm might have been when I was younger. The Grudge 2 is just straight up duty. Like, it's booty hole. It's really, really bad. I remember the last time I watched this movie, when I think about The Grudge, honestly, I think more about Scary Movie 4 than anything else, which was when the Scary Movie franchise really went off a cliff. But, the whole Toshiba and everything sequence with Anna Faris and the little boy, that's just what I think of. I don't know why. Maybe sad that that's more memorable than the Grudge movies. But yeah, no, it's not scary at all. Some of the performances are just painfully wooden. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's like just terrible acting, but it's just like you don't buy anything that any of these people are going through. The effects are bad, and so are the first ones, honestly. So I should have expected that. It's just completely forgettable. I mean, it's completely forgettable. And when the movie's over, you're just kind of like, okay. Now, it's not as bad as The Grudge 3. But again, we're going with part 2s here. And it's just bad. It's just not good. And I'm sure there's someone furiously typing a comment right now about how I'm wrong and how it's not that bad. More power to you. I think it's booty hole. This next one's a bummer. It's a bummer because I really enjoyed the first movie. But it's got to be 47 Meters Down Uncaged. Has to be. Has to be. Wow. The first movie I really enjoyed. I thought it was really effective. And I think it plays on that primal fear of, like, obviously, 1, being, caught out in the open ocean. 2, being hunted by a shark. And then being trapped at the bottom of the ocean with limited oxygen. It's just so much about it is good. The second movie, nah, man. Nah. It's just, you got, like, zombie sharks. And, like, in certain franchises, that would work. But, like, in this franchise, it didn't work. Like, because it's not even a franchise yet. One movie that was grounded in a lot of reality, things that could happen. And then the sequel's like, but what if there were zombie sharks in, like, some ancient temple? And what if all these bitches were, like, insufferable and you wanted to see them all die? And it's like, yeah. And I guess some of these movies I'm mentioning, some of you guys might be like, oh, well, it's fine. I can turn my brain off and have fun with it. And, like, that's cool, but, like, a lot of these movies, their predecessor was good or at least decent. And these movies are, like, not good at all. And 47 Meters Down Uncaged just completely jumped the zombie shark. Next up is one that I just recently watched for the first time. I'd never seen it. I was scared because I knew it was straight to DVD. I knew that it wasn't gonna be the best, but I was like, you know what? I love this first movie. I'm gonna give this one a watch. Man, I fell asleep halfway through it. I had to finish it later in the evening after I woke up from my nap. And that is Return to House on Haunted Hill. Oh, wow. The effects suck. Yeah, there's some decent gore, but even then there's some pretty bad gore effects too. The acting's pretty bad all across the board. The story is nonsensical. It is completely stupid and takes so much of the allure of the first movie away, of it just being like this, abandoned mental asylum where a bunch of people died, and this, sadistic, almost like Hitler-like leader of that place, and these spirits haunting this place, and it just being this maze that, no rhyme or reason for why things are happening. And this movie's like, oh, well, there's like this totem, and, if it's gone, then the place is cleansed, and it's so bad. I'll give them credit. The main room, the main lobby, I think they got that pretty well to House on Haunted Hill. Looked pretty similar. The outdoor shots that are complete CG are fucking terrible. The stuff in the basement is awful. I mean, it is totally awful. It feels so small. It feels like a set. Like, it does not feel like the first movie did. I can vividly remember the first time I saw that movie, and every time afterward, just feeling like that basement was huge. It was endless. It was like a maze. That feeling is not there in this movie whatsoever. It's just not good. I believe when it was done, I texted Christian and said, yeah, I know why I never rushed to see this movie. And he was like, yeah, it's not very good. So, yeah, Return to House on Haunted Hill. Maybe it's recency bias that you're on the top of my mind right now, but you're going on this list, bitch. And finally is going to be American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis. I mean, it's not even It's not even American Psycho. It was a different movie that they repurposed to put the name on it so they could try to make money, riding off the coattails of American Psycho. And it's just not good. And I like Mila Kunis. This movie's boring. It doesn't fit tonally at all with the first movie. It is so forgettable. I feel like I'm saying a lot of the same points with a lot of these movies. It's hurting my brain talking about them. I don't like to be negative. I'm done. But yeah, guys, that's 10 of the worst / most disappointing horror sequels that come to mind for me. It is not the 10 worst. This is not the list. This is just 10 that pop into mind for me. Whether they're even terrible or not, they were just super disappointing. You guys know me. I don't like to really be negative on my channel. I like to talk about things I'm passionate about. So it was a little hard to do this, honestly, because I don't like to beat up on movies. But, I'd seen the comments and people wanted me to continue in this, in this vein. So I thought, why the fuck not? Yeah, it took a lot out of me to do that. But you guys let me know down below what are 10 of the worst / most disappointing horror sequels you have ever seen. Let me know why I am totally wrong in the comments down below. But as long as you're watching and you're leaving a like and you're letting me know, you're giving me feedback, I love you. So this is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.